When we're trying to think about like what's a good potential use of AI, obviously I think it's important to start with what do you want the experience for your final user, your final customer to be? Like what are you expecting their experience to be? And sometimes what you look at is we can already do that with non-AI technologies. And that's great. But sometimes you'll look at that and yes, you can do it with non-AI technologies, but if you take a step further and you look at how would we like to improve the experience for those users, then you start to look at how AI can improve that. So it may be that you can have a minimum viable product with without using AI, but I think if you want to have enough long-term planning that you can see we might be putting AI into here. So how do we make sure that we have everything in place so that we can more easily update this to utilize AI in the future is a way I would think about it. Because I think where AI, generative AI especially, really shines is how we can improve the user experience of whatever we're building. The language understanding, the language, like being able to parse it out and then send that out to uh, other APIs to get and collect the data with some sort of agentic workflow now is is really amazing, and we're starting to get into that use case that I think a lot of people who aren't technical, they keep asking, "Well, why can't my computer just figure this out from what I'm saying?" And and I think that's where we're starting to get into that now, and that's if we can do that, which in many cases we can now, we can start improving that experience from them and setting ourselves apart, uh, as far as what we're doing. Because a lot of user experience flows are starting to solidify as like this is just what everybody does. And now adding in these generative AI, we can improve that so much.
I really love how you flipped it around on user experience because everybody likes to jump immediately to technical challenges. Sometimes when you think about these, there's a lot of different ways, like you said, this to solve a problem. Whether you're going to just do like a discrete, really complicated workflow, or you're going to do something that's more of a decision tree or a rules engine, things that can handle, fairly complex workflows exist out there already in terms of technology. But giving users a interface that is more natural in terms of communication and flow that has some sense of reasoning and purpose is a good thing for generative AI. But the other AI models that exist out there also just interacting more with images,
Mhm.
things that require predictions of data sets, things that exist out there in terms of speech and audio and translation. There's so many other things that could surface up to the user that AI does a really good job at, where it's not as clean and clear cut of what the right answer is. And so this probabilistic nature of an answer sometimes helps you more than
Right.
something that is discrete. But focusing on that user experience, I think is a great way to start identifying the right problems that you would solve with AI rather than starting with, oh, I have a technical thing over here and this widget doesn't work quite right. I think we should just go replace it with AI. That's not necessarily going to lead you to the
Yeah.
right answer.
Yeah. I tend to focus on like what's the reason we're building this thing? And it's usually for somebody at the end. And so I've been really excited before generative AI was big and other machine learning stuff, especially like in the healthcare industry and all the stuff that people have been able to do with the imagery there to like early detect diseases. That's amazing. I love that because that like has a huge impact like
Yeah.
on people. And that's one of those use cases where you say we should absolutely be doing this here because it improves it for everybody. And so we want to take a look at like why are we doing this? What are we trying to output? What are we trying to create to set ourselves apart as a company for our users, for our customers, or even for, because those users can be internal. How are we trying to make things easier for our employees who have to interact with this system. That's I think that that's really helpful because like in the end, that's what kind of matters really. These are everything we build in the end is like a tool that's either useful or it's not. And so we want to make a useful tool.
Yeah, that's great. And also just like what you're talking about there, the image models don't need to be based on large foundational language models, right? Like firing a bazooka at everything is not the correct answer.
You're right.
Like
It's
we've solved problems in different spaces where people are just trying to, decode information that's in natural language. And there's lots of libraries that can do that in a much cheaper and simpler way that's still using machine learning,
mhm.
right? Different types of neural networks and things. It really depends on what kind of data you have to train and what you're training. So you don't always have to jump immediately to like a Gemini Pro or a multimodal LLM.
Absolutely. There's some great vision models and audio models and, different models that categorize different things that can be extremely helpful. So yeah, I think it's really good to look at that. Look at the problem you have and look at how to solve that problem. Don't look at the solution and look at how I can apply that solution to the problem you have.